Unbelievable transformation. Woman discovers amazing secrets behind 5 frozen wolves seeking help. On a frigid Montana night, when the stars hid behind heavy clouds and the wind howled like a restless spirit, Sarah stumbled from her car, wrapping her coat tighter around her. As a dedicated veterinarian, she had spent years pouring her heart into the small animal clinic her family had built. But the weight of keeping it afloat in this struggling town felt more suffocating than the biting cold. She was used to hard work, but hope was slipping through her grasp like the ice forming around her boots. Tonight felt particularly heavy. Alone in the sterile silence of the clinic, she filled syringe after syringe with medicine, fighting back the creeping doubt that threatened to snuff out her flames of ambition. Then, through the clinic's frosted window, she caught a glimpse of something, a movement in the thicket beside the road. Curiosity piqued, Sarah ventured outside, her heart racing. And there, nestled beneath a layer of snow, were 5 frozen wolf pups, shivering and abandoned. Her breath caught in her throat. They were fighting for survival just like she was. Instinctively, compassion overtook fear. She scooped them up, their bodies small and frail, and rushed back to the warmth of the clinic. The struggle to bring the pups back to life was grueling. Each feeding was a battle as she coaxed them to drink, their tiny bodies trembling against her hands. But with each small miracle a soft yawn, a wagging tail, Sarah felt a flicker of hope rekindling within her. She wasn't alone in her fight. They were a team. Just as she started finding her rhythm again, Tom, the local war veteran, appeared in her doorway. He had seen her frantic efforts and wanted to help. "Looks like you could use an extra hand," he said, his voice gruff but kind. They bonded over stories of resilience and sacrifice, sharing laughter and tears as the pups grew stronger. Tom's presence felt like a warm fire on that cold winter night, illuminating shadows of doubt that had lingered too long in Sarah's heart. But not everyone in town was pleased. Whispers about the wolves being dangerous predators echoed in the streets, as some residents clung to old fears. The tension was palpable. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then disaster struck. A blizzard swept through town, isolating families and burying homes in snow. The economy took another hit, forcing people to hunker down in fear of what was to come. But Sarah wouldn't let the storm extinguish her newfound hope. She rallied the community, planning an event to unite everyone. She believed the wolves could be a bridge, a chance for mending old wounds. The night of the gathering, Sarah stood before the crowd, fingers trembling and heart racing. As her voice echoed against the blizzard's lull, she was met with mixed expressions, some curious, some skeptical. Just then, a familiar old-timer rose and challenged her. The room held its breath, tension crackling like the storm outside. Could she really bring this fractured community together? Would the wolves be a threat? Or could they symbolize their collective strength? In that moment, amidst the raging storm, Sarah knew she'd have to decide. Would she continue fighting for the wolves and her community's healing? Or succumb to the pressure weighing them down? The air was thick with uncertainty as old Mr. Henderson's voice boomed through the gathering. "Those wolves belong in the wild. They're not pets, Sarah. You're playing with fire." His words echoed off the walls, igniting a chorus of murmurs and headshakes amongst the crowd. Sarah's heart raced, the storm still whistling outside. But now it felt like the storm was brewing in the room too. "But what if we could turn fear into understanding?" she replied, her voice stronger than she felt. "What if these pups could show us how to come together?" Tom stepped forward, his presence a comforting anchor. "I served overseas and I know what it means to face the unknown. Those wolves have been through hell just like us. We're all survivors here." His voice resonated with warmth and conviction, cutting through the rising tension. A young woman in the back stood up, her eyes glistening. "My brother lost his life in the war. If we can save these pups, maybe we can save ourselves too." Nods rippled through the audience. Hope sparked in Sarah's chest. Maybe they could forge a new path forward. The conversation shifted as Sarah shared her vision and initiative to rehabilitate the wolves as part of a community project. As she spoke, she painted images of frosty mornings, children learning to care for animals, and neighbors uniting over a common cause. The ice that had settled between them began to thaw, but just as it did, a knock sounded from the clinic door. The sudden noise sent a wave of unease through the crowd. Sarah turned, slipping into a protective stance, her breath caught. Tom also shifted, scanning faces for signs of trouble. The whispers of the townsfolk returned like a chilling breeze as they wondered who could be out in such ferocity. "Stay here," Sarah whispered to Tom, her heart pounding in her chest. She approached the door quietly. Gripping the handle, she hesitated, doubt flooding her mind. What if it was someone looking to shut her down? Taking a deep breath, she flung the door open. There, half buried in snowdrifts, stood a lanky figure in a frayed jacket, his face obscured by the swirling winds. It was hard to make out his features, but the desperation in his stance was unmistakable. "Help!" he croaked, collapsing into the clinic's threshold. Sarah's instinct screamed at her to drag him inside, to save this stranger. But a part of her hesitated. What if he was trouble? What if bringing him in jeopardized everything she was fighting for? Tom, seemingly reading her thoughts, edged closer. He needs help, Sarah. That was true. But would inviting him in mean opening the door to yet another battle? The weight of her decision felt enormous. As the crowd erupted into worried chatter, Sarah's heart raced with questions. What did this stranger want? And would he accept the wolves, or would he see them as a threat too? Sarah's gaze flickered between the figure and the anxious crowd, realizing that in her quest for healing, she might just have stumbled onto the toughest challenge she had yet to face. Would she take the plunge and embrace whatever lay ahead? Or would fear grip her heart again like a vice? The moment hung in the air like a low-hanging fog. Sarah's heart pounded, drowning out the whispers from the crowd behind her. The stranger, sprawled in the doorway, looked up at her with pleading eyes, their deep wells of fear mingling with something more profound, desperation, and maybe a glimmer of hope. "Come on, Sarah," Tom urged quietly. His hand reassured her shoulder, grounding her in that chaotic moment. "He needs us." Taking a tentative step forward, Sarah knelt beside the figure. His skin was pale and chilled, lips trembling as he struggled to catch his breath. "What happened?" she asked, forcing concern into her voice over the howling wind. "Wolves," he gasped. "They're after me." The words barely escaped his lips before he buried his head in his arms, fatigue consuming him. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd behind her. She could sense the dawning anxiety creeping back in, the fear of wolves lurking just outside the warmth of their community. But something deep within her resisted that urge to push this stranger away. "Did you see them?" Sarah pressed, kneeling on the snow-dusted floor beside him, the cold seeping through her jeans. She could feel the weight of everyone's gaze, every pair of eyes demanding answers, wanting clarity in a situation steeped in uncertainty. "A pack, they're wild," he murmured. "But there's something strange about them." "They strange how?" Sarah interrupted, urgency coloring her tone. He looked at her then, confusion merging with a glimmer of courage. "They didn't attack me. It was like they were protecting something. I don't know. I'm just trying to get away." The words echoed in the air, planting seeds of curiosity in Sarah's mind. Could the wolves and this stranger hold the key to the very connection she hoped to build within their community? "Tom, let us help him," she decided, casting a determined glance over her shoulder to where he stood. His expression shifting from worried to steadfast. Tom nodded. "All right, everyone, let us give them some space," he called, his voice strong. People hesitated, trading concerned looks. "This is an opportunity," Sarah added, her voice cutting through the tension. "If he's right about those wolves, we might need to understand what's really happening out there." A few people cautiously moved back, but others still lingered, their expressions revealing a mix of skepticism and intrigue. This was her moment. She couldn't let it slip away. "Bring him inside," Sarah instructed, her voice firm now. "We can't let fear divide us again. Not when there's a chance to understand." Tom stepped forward, his arms wrapping around the stranger's shoulders gently, helping him to his feet, steadying him against the wall. As they moved into the clinic, Sarah felt the warm air wrap around them, a stark contrast to the storm raging outside. She turned back toward the crowd, her heart racing with renewed determination. Each of us carries fear. What if we could transform that fear into understanding? We can learn from one another, humans and animals alike. A murmur of agreement began to rise from the townsfolk. Some began to step closer, eyes wide with curiosity, while others still held their reservations. And then it hit her: what if this was a pivotal moment? A chance to connect their own struggles with the wildness that lurked beyond their doors? Let us take a chance on this, she urged, her passion rising. We won't just save these pups, we'll save ourselves. Together. The crowd, torn between doubt and her infectious enthusiasm, began to shift. But just as hope started to twinkle in their eyes, the howling wind outside intensified, drowning all sounds for a heartbeat. Then a distant howl echoed through the storm, slicing through moments of hope like a knife. What was that? Someone whispered, fear creeping back in. Sarah felt her breath hitch as the wall she fought so hard to build began crumbling again. In her heart, she knew this encounter was only the beginning. There was more at stake than just saving wolves or rescuing a stranger. She was on the precipice of a greater truth, and uncertainty swirled like the winter winds outside. What lay ahead could engulf them or unite them in ways they never imagined. The wind howled louder, echoing the tension in the room. Sarah's heart thundered as she scanned the crowd's faces, each one painted with doubt or fear. The stranger leaned against the wall, visibly shaken, but a flicker of hope played in his tired eyes. He glanced between Sarah and the door, as if he could sense the pack drawing near. Did anyone else hear that? Tom asked, his eyes darting to the door. Sarah felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. We need to focus, she said, trying to steady her voice. What's happening out there could change everything for us. The murmurs grew louder as townsfolk exchanged uneasy glances. Some stepped forward, drawn in by Sarah's conviction. What do you mean by them protecting something? She directed toward the stranger. He took a shaky breath, visibly gathering his strength. You need to listen. I stumbled across something in the woods. A den. They were guarding something, a small creature. I don't know what it was, but it was different. Glowing gasps echoed around the clinic, the fear transforming into an urgent curiosity. Glowing? Someone in the back asked, his voice wavering. Yes, he replied, his voice gaining strength. It was like nothing I've ever seen. But the wolves, they weren't attacking me, it's like they were trying to lead me away from it. I thought they were savagers, but they're protecting that creature. The words caught in Sarah's throat, the possibility of something greater igniting her imagination. If this creature was truly special, maybe it held the answers to their struggles, the key to uniting their community with the wild, and perhaps it could break the cycle of fear. Then we have to find it, Sarah said fiercely, her heart racing with excitement. We can't let fear hold us back. Not anymore. Are you crazy? Someone shouted from the back, voice dripping with skepticism. Wolves don't protect anything except their own. But what if they're different? Sarah argued, her nerves sparking the electricity in her voice. Tom placed a steadying hand on her arm, his gaze warm yet cautious. We need to be smart about this, Sarah. But if we can discover what's truly happening out there, it might change everything. The crowd was split. Some faces were still lined with doubt, but others glimmered with intrigue, curiosity replacing fear as they considered the stranger's words. Maybe there was a chance to turn their fear into understanding. Maybe this could bring them closer together. New energy surged through Sarah as the realization struck her. This was more than just a chance to be brave. This was about facing the unknown together. A collective expedition into the woods would not only unveil the truth, but also heal the rift that fear had driven between them. Let us do it, she urged, her determination resonating with the group. Let us venture out, find the den, and reveal what this is all about. Together. A hesitant murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but Sarah could feel the shift. They were ready to listen, ready to believe. Tonight we rise as one, she declared, feeling the warmth of unity beginning to wrap around their hearts. We go in search of whatever this mysterious creature is. There is something out there that could change everything, but we can't wait. The longer we hesitate, the more power fear holds over us. Just as a spark of courage ignited among them, the howling intensified, as if warning them not to proceed. The sound reverberated through the clinic, thickening the air with urgency. The stranger's eyes widened, an unspoken fear passing between him and Sarah. Time is not on our side, he whispered, his breath hitching in the panic now replacing his earlier exhaustion. They're coming. We have to go. As they gathered their things, Sarah felt a wave of anticipation mixed with fear crashing over her. Would they face the wolves together? Or would they retreat into the shadows of uncertainty once more? The wind howled outside, stirring the tempest of the unknown. They were at the edge of something monumental, potential danger mingling with hope, and Sarah knew this was only the beginning. But what lay beyond that door in the freezing cold could either bind them together or tear them apart in ways they could never foresee. The clinic door creaked open, revealing a swirling gust of cold air that rushed in like a horde of memories, filling the small space with a biting chill. Sarah hesitated, her heart racing as the townsfolk pressed closer, the thrill of possibility palpable among them. "Ready?" Tom whispered, his breath fogging in the frigid air. She nodded, her gaze locked on the darkness beyond. Together, she affirmed, and she could see determination flooding his eyes as they stepped outside. The howling wind whipped at their faces, urging them to retreat. But Sarah tightened her grip on the makeshift lantern in her hand, steadying her resolve. The crowd, though nervous, began to shuffle out one by one, forming a hesitant line. The forest loomed ahead, a shadowing wall of trees that swallowed the light. With each step, the crunch of snow beneath their boots resonated in the silence. Fear mingled with anticipation, their breath steaming in the biting cold, filling the air with a sense of urgency that neither could ignore. "What do you think we'll find?" a woman in the crowd asked, her voice shaking slightly. "Something incredible," Sarah replied, injecting confidence into her words even as doubts gnawed at her. This was at the moment when they would step out of their comfort and face the unknown. As they trekked deeper into the woods, the howling of the wind transformed into distant growls and the rustling sounds of something moving. Each noise seemed to echo their heartbeat, rising and falling in response. Tom's hand brushed against Sarah's, a silent comfort in this swirling uncertainty. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The noises dimmed, replaced by an eerie silence that sank into their bones. The trees around them, towering sentinels, blocked out the last remnants of daylight. "Do you feel that?" a man whispered. The air was thick with tension. Sarah looked around, her senses heightened, on alert for the creatures they had heard about. "Maybe they're nearby," she said, an uninvited shiver running down her spine. Just then, a glimpse of movement caught her eye. Before her stood a large figure, its fur glistening faintly in the dim light. The wind hollowed around them, yet she could see the outline of the majestic wolf nosing the ground, watching them with intelligent eyes. Tom's breath caught in his throat. "It's beautiful." The wolf tilted its head, and in that brief moment, a connection sparked between them. Fear clashed with awe, leaving Sarah speechless. She stepped forward, her heart pounding. Was this the protector the stranger had spoken of? The wolf watched her intently, and then turned, glancing back toward the deeper shadows of the woods. It stood there, waiting, leading them without a word. "Are we really doing this?" someone spoke up, uncertainty creeping back into the crowd. "We have to trust," Sarah urged, her voice emboldened by an unexplainable sense of purpose. "This creature knows something. We're not alone." With a collective breath, they followed the wolf deeper into the woods, each step pulling them away from their fears. The weight of the moment bore down on them, transforming trepidation into an eager hope. They ventured further, the darkness wrapping around them like a cloak, the glowing eyes of the wolf a beacon in the night. What truth lay ahead? What secrets awaited them just beyond the next bend? And then it hit Sarah, a sudden realization that transformed her resolve. What if this journey held not just the secrets of the creature, but also the hidden truths of themselves? Could this expedition change not only their perception of the wolves but also who they were as a community? The path opened up into a clearing, and on the other side was a soft glow, pulsating like a heartbeat. The wolf stopped, looking back toward them as if encouraging them to move forward. "Here we go," she breathed, her pulse racing with equal parts dread and excitement, and just as they were about to step into the light, a low growl erupted from the darkness, a warning ringing clear. The moment had come, but would they be ready for what lay ahead? Would they face the fears that had held them captive? Or would the shadows pull them back into the familiarity of doubt? The growl faded, leaving an unsettling silence that hung heavy in the air. Sarah stood frozen, her heart thundering against her ribcage. The majestic wolf turned its gaze toward the shadowed wood, its expression solemn, as if urging them to move onward with all the wisdom it held. "Do we go?" Tom whispered, looking to Sarah for guidance. It was her voice the group sought, the beacon they needed. Slowly she nodded. We can't turn back now. We've come too far. With a deep breath she stepped forward, encouraging the others to follow as they crossed into the clearing. The glow intensified, illuminating the subtle shapes of what lay ahead. Shadows danced along the perimeter, and Sarah could make out several more wolves, their sleek forms gathered in a circle. The sight sent a shiver up her spine, an electric mixture of trepidation and exhilaration washing over her. The wolves seemed to instinctively understand their presence, moving aside to reveal something nestled in the center, a glimmering crystal, pulsating with a soft azure light. It was stunning, mesmerizing in its brilliance, exuding warmth even amidst the biting cold that surrounded them. Is that? A man murmured, his voice laced with disbelief. Yes, Sarah replied, her eyes wide in wonder. But why is it here? The lead wolf stepped forward, its noble head raised high. And then, to Sarah's astonishment, it began to transform. The creature shimmered, its fur shimmering away, revealing a young woman with striking features and wise eyes. She stood barefooted in the snow, yet appeared utterly unaffected by the cold. Welcome, seekers, the woman said, her voice resonating with a soothing power. I am Alara, guardian of these woods and the crystal that binds our fates. You have come seeking the truth. A flood of emotion rose within Sarah. She felt validation in those words. They had not embarked on this journey in vain. We've heard stories about the wolves, about how they protect the woods, she said, her voice shaky but firm. We want to understand. We want to help. Alara nodded knowingly. But first, she said, her gaze profound, you must confront what lies within your hearts. The bond shared between creature and human is woven tightly. Breaking that bond creates chaos. Are you ready to face the darkness that your fears have hidden? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't realized this journey would demand more than simple bravery. It would require introspection, honesty, and confrontation of her deepest insecurities. Around her, she could sense the others grappling with their own internal battles, the weight of their collective hesitance looming over them. What if I can't? A woman whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. Alara stepped closer, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Strength doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means acknowledging it and still moving forward. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart swelling with the realization that this journey was about more than the wolves. It was about their community. The struggles they had faced had intertwined them into a tapestry of shared experience. Together, she called, the strength of her voice surprising even herself. We can do this together. The crowd responded, a collective surge of determination filtering through them. As Sarah locked eyes with Tom, a silent agreement passed between them. This was a pivotal moment. Whatever shadows lay ahead, they would face them united. Alara smiled warmly, the glow of the crystal intensifying in response to their combined courage. Then let us begin, she said, extending her arms. Embrace your truth. The wolves echoed a harmonious howl that resonated through the trees, and in that moment Sarah felt every doubt begin to dissolve. They stepped forward as one, ready to uncover both the truths of the wolves and the unspoken truths within themselves. But just as they began to approach Alara, the howling intensified, shifting into a frenzied chorus. Something more was coming. Stay focused, Alara instructed urgently, her composure unwavering amidst the growing chaos. What else lurks in the shadows? A chill ran through Sarah, and she could only wonder what other secrets this night would reveal. Would they find the clarity they sought? Or would darker forces emerge from the depths of their fears, threatening not only their journey but their very bond? The howling grew louder, rattling the very atmosphere around them. The waves of sound crashed against Sarah's chest, making her heart race even faster. She glanced around, catching glimpses of her companions gripping each other's arms, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. What do you see? Alara's voice cut through the chaos, piercing like a beacon. Nothing yet, Sarah replied, the words sticking in her throat. Then it happened. From the edge of the clearing came dark figures. Shadowy forms slipping through the trees, faces hidden, movements fluid like smoke. They emerged, shadows of despair, cloaked in an aura filled with cold malice. The wolves bared their teeth, growling low in their throats, but Alara remained centered. She stepped toward the encroaching figures. They are drawn to your fears, she called out, her voice steady. You must confront them if you wish to regain what was lost. For Sarah, a flurry of feelings erupted within, exposing the raw threads of her fear. Doubt crept in, snaking its way through her resolve. What if she wasn't strong enough? What if they all failed? But she felt Tom's hand squeeze hers, grounding her, reminding her that they had come together. Face them as a united front. Alara commanded. What takes shape before you is a reflection of your inner darkness. Stand firm. As the forms began to solidify into recognizable features, defeated faces from her past, Sarah felt the air around her thicken. Each specter represented a struggle she'd avoided, moments of weakness and pain. They were fragments she had buried deep, desperate for them to stay forgotten. Why are you here? One shadow hissed, echoing her own insecurities. You think you can change? You think you can belong? The truth of those words shot through her heart like an arrow. She had always felt different, struggling between the expectations of others and her own aspirations. Stop. You don't define me, Sarah shouted into the swirling darkness, her voice gaining strength. She stepped forward, breaking the invisible barrier that held her back. The shadows reeled away with every fierce word she spoke, revealing fragments of light that rippled through the cold air. I am more than these moments. I am not my failures. I am not my doubts. A ripple of realization washed over the group as one by one, they began to echo her sentiment. Tom was next, confronting his own specter, eyes fierce. You do not own my story. Emboldened by Sarah's courage, the others sprang forth, pushing against their own chains of fear. Each shout seemed to match the heights of the howling, enveloping the forest in a harmonious symphony of resistance. Together, they roared, hands interlocked, voices entwined. Alara observed the scene with a proud smile, the crystal at the center now glowing vibrantly, pulling energy from their combined strength. But the shadows didn't fade entirely. They reared back, swirling violently. A deep growl escaped their depths, a sound unlike anything Sarah had ever heard. We can't be conquered, they cried, their voices layered like thunder. Panic surged through Sarah, but Alara stepped forward, urging them with a wave of her hand. You must not fight them alone. Your power lies in unity. Share your light. Share your truth. Inspired, Sarah and her friends focused on the light of the crystal. They found strength not just in each other but in their shared experiences. Their energy began to merge, creating an overwhelming wave of light that pushed against the shadows. But the shadows clawed back, fighting for dominance. Would their light be enough to overcome the darkness? In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of her journey bearing down. What if they couldn't push through? What if this was the end? Then, the radiant energy surged, intertwining and glowing louder. The fight for their truth had only just begun. But would it be enough to break the hold of darkness lurking just beyond? The air crackled with tension as the shadows writhed like living entities, refusing to fade away. Sarah could feel the heat of her friends' energy, their determination setting fire to the chill that seeped into her bones. They stood resolute, feet firmly planted, as the pulsing light of the crystal reflected the strength of their unity. But the shadows weren't backing down easily. Another growl rumbled through the clearing, growing louder, transforming into a discordant harmony of anguished voices. You think you can defeat us? You are nothing but echoes of your fears. Sarah's stomach nodded, memories flooding back times when she had hesitated, when she had let opportunities slip through her fingers. Each specter now took form of a moment she would rather forget. The night she didn't speak up when she should have. The time her dreams felt too big, too bold. Get out of my head, she shouted, feeling a surge of power as she yelled into the night. You don't own me. Tom stepped forward, his face set with determination. We all have our battles. We all have shadows, but together we're unstoppable. His voice rang out like a clarion call. Together, Sarah echoed, her heart pounding with a fierce rhythm. The group tightened their grip on each other's hands, a circle of solidarity that radiated warmth against the cold touch of fear. The shadows screeched, thrashing against the vigor of their unity. The biting wind grew fierce, whipping through the trees as if trying to tear them apart. But instead it only made them push harder against the oncoming storm, bolstered by their shared truths. I am not afraid, Alara shouted, stepping further into the light, her presence a beacon. What you see before you is a flicker of your own falsehoods. We are more than what we fear. Each word from Alara resonated like a bell, wrapping around them, sparking a fire that flickered into existence. With every proclamation, the shadows recoiled, shrinking back as if scorched by the light they unleashed. Focus on your strength, Alara urged. Dig deep into your hearts. Remember who you are. Sarah's breath quickened. She closed her eyes for a heartbeat, summoning images of triumph. The joy of self-acceptance, the embrace of her true self, the warmth of her friends. With a fierce inhalation, she pushed that strength outward. A pulse of brilliant light exploded from the group, bright and all-consuming. It surged through the clearing, wrapping around the shadows like a warm blanket, dissolving their icy grasp. The growls turned into sobs, echoing their helplessness as they fought against the light. But the shadows were losing ground. Sarah could feel the doubt beginning to release its hold, cantering away like a scared animal. Together, they cried once more, and the forest thrummed with a powerful energy that ignited the very essence of who they were. Suddenly, a crack cleaved the air, a shudder of light split through the center of the swirling darkness, and for a moment, Sarah thought they might have shattered the grip of fear. But just then a deeper, darker shadow emerged from the heart of the chaos. It was larger, more menacing than the others, a swirling mass of fury and despair. It loomed over them, dominating the scene. The howling reached a crescendo, vibrating through Sarah's bones. What was this new darkness? Would it swallow them all? Sarah's heart raced. She felt the fear mounting again. Could they truly face this together? The crescendo of fear mingled with hope, and she realized this was the moment of truth. The massive shadow unfurled like dark smoke, twisting and curling over the ground, its form shifting and indeterminate, filling the space with palpable dread. Sarah felt her heart hammering in her chest, the weight of truth more pressing than the darkness itself. "We can do this!" Tom shouted, his voice cutting through the gale roaring around them. His power surged like a tide, pushing against the overwhelming gloom. Sarah grasped that feeling of unity tightly, recalling the laughter they shared, the dreams they whispered under starlit skies. They were more than their fears. They were friends, and friends fought together. With a brave breath, she stepped back, pulling the light from her memory, igniting it in her throat. Then the darkness lunged. It seemed to breathe in their fear, drawing closer, hungry for their hesitations. "Hold on!" Alara screamed, thrusting her hands outward as if to push the shadow back. But amidst the chaos, Sarah saw something unexpected. Within that dark mass were flickers of something familiar. Flashbacks erupted in her mind, moments she had tucked away, the faces of loved ones, urging her to be brave, to pursue her dreams. "I am not afraid," she roared again, voice now fierce and unwavering. Suddenly the ice-cold shadow paused. The growls turned into hesitations. It was as if it was taken aback. The shadows shrank closer to the heart of the dark mass, quivering. "Feel it, Sarah," Tom said, his eyes bright with a spark of inspiration. "Use what you've learned, bring it to life." With a deep breath, Sarah remembered their reasons for fighting. Each friend beside her held a piece of her heart. Together, they were an anchor against the storm. Slowly, she pushed that warmth outwards, channeling her energy like a wildfire igniting in her soul. The brightness traveled through her fingers, deepening with each heartbeat, curling around her friends. Together, they echoed once more, but this time with added passion, as if their unity became a tangible force. With every word, every heartbeat of determination, the newfound light expanded, overwhelming the darkness. As the shadows engulfed the light, something incredible happened. Cracks began to form. A shimmering wave exploded in all directions, forcing the shadows back, the darkness writhing and twisting like a cornered animal. "Keep going," Alara urged, her own hands glowing fiercely. Sarah could feel the fear in her friends, but it wasn't just fear anymore. It was courage. Daring breaths mingled with shared desperation, and overcoming began to root itself deep within them. She pictured it clearly. Each instance, each obstacle now a stepping stone towards freedom. "It's failing," Tom exclaimed, his face a mix of surprise and conviction. And that moment, with a roar louder than before, the darkness surged backward, unraveling like a frayed thread. The haunting voices turned chaotic, voicing their defeat as the shadows slipped away, disintegrating into nothingness. But just as they began to rejoice, a chilling whisper echoed through the clearing, slithering between them like a cold breeze. "This isn't over, little ones." A flicker of worry sparked in Sarah's chest, but before she could question it, The dense shadow hissed one final time and vanished. Silence enveloped the clearing, too heavy, too still. Is it really gone? Alara whispered, eyes searching the dark corners of the remnants. But as they stood in the ghostly aftermath, their hearts still racing, a distant roar interrupted the night, chilling them to the bone. Another presence was lurking, something larger than fear itself. What new threat awaited them in the shadows? The atmosphere in the clearing was thick with uncertainty, swirling remnants of fear wrapping around them like a cold shroud. Sarah's heart raced as the distant roar echoed through the woods, a reminder that their battle was far from over. What was that? A voice trembled in the crowd. Whispers of doubt began to creep back in. Alara turned, her eyes fixed on the tree line just beyond the clearing. We must prepare, she said, urgency creeping into her voice. The darkness may not be finished. Sarah felt a surge of bravery. This was the moment. They had faced the shadows and survived. Together they could face what may come next. We are stronger now, she declared, turning to her friends, her family. We won a battle, but we need to stay united to win the war. Tom moved closer, the determination in his eyes shining bright. We've all faced our fears together. We can't let doubt creep back in. We have to stand firm. The crowd began to rally, their hands tightening around one another, forming a more unified front. They weren't just a group of individuals anymore. They were a community, a family forged in the fires of adversity. Alara, what do we need to do? Sarah asked, her heart steady despite the looming threat. The light you've found within, the truth you've confronted, it's powerful. But it needs to be amplified. We must create a protective circle, drawing on each other as strength. Alara's authoritative tone ignited a spark of hope in Sarah. Let us do it. Sarah shouted. Let us show whatever is out there that we're not afraid. With renewed purpose they formed a circle, standing shoulder to shoulder, hands clasped tightly. In the center the glowing crystal pulsed with energy, casting radiant light that seemed to dance and swell with their collective resolve. One by one they began to share their truths. Their fears transformed into declarations of strength. I am a survivor, called one woman, voice clear and strong. I embrace my journey, echoed another. The circle surged in energy, their voices intertwining. I will not be afraid. As the last echo left their lips, a hum vibrated through the ground, charging the air with an electric anticipation. The distant roar grew nearer, transforming into snarls that threatened to disrupt their unity. Stay focused, Alara commanded, her presence a calming yet powerful force. Draw on the light. The howling shadows lurked just outside their protective circle, ominous figures draped in darkness, threatening to tear them apart. But as they continued to share their truths, including their deepest hopes for a better tomorrow, the energy within the glow expanded, filling the space with warmth and light. Heartbeats synchronized, they drew power from their collective stories, each heartbeat melding into a chorus of harmony. The shadows hissed, a discordant contrast amidst the beautiful symphony of unity. Together, Sarah cried as she felt the light coursing through her veins. Just then, the dark figure lunged forward, snarling and intimidating. But Sarah stood firm, heart pounding with conviction. We are not afraid, she shouted, meeting its gaze. The burst of light from the crystal intensified, wrapping around the dark figure, pushing it back with undeniable force. The shadows recoiled, momentarily blinded by the illumination of their collective will. The very air vibrated with the push and pull of the light against darkness. In that instant Sarah felt something shift. Each member of the group infused their light into the crystal, their hopes intermingling, swirling in a tapestry of vibrant energy, a testament to their newfound strength. The shadows withdrew, fear evident in their growls. The looming dark figure hesitated, caught between the gnawing fear of its impending defeat and the darkness that it embodied. Sarah felt a wave of empathy wash over her, recognizing the shared struggle within it. You don't have to fight us, she breathed. We can help you. The shadows quivered, uncertainty creeping into their ferocity. Tom chimed in, you don't have to hide behind fear. Join us as allies instead. And just like that, the dark figure shivered, the essence of its shadows rippling. The once menacing presence began to dissolve, revealing a path shrouded in anguish and pain. It was the dark within each of them, the shadows they had fought to overcome. Sarah's heart swelled with understanding. They were all bound by struggles, fears, and moments of solitude. "We can face this together," she said tenderly. "You are not alone, not anymore." Slowly, the darkness softened, swirling around them like mist, whispering echoes of vulnerability that spoke of its former self, exhausted and weary. Within that hush, the crystal flickered, the light expanding to envelop the dark mass. Then, in a blinding flash, the light exploded outward, banishing the shadows and enveloping the clearing in tranquility. As peace settled over the woods, the last remnants of darkness flickered and faded away. The tension had transformed, leaving behind a warmth that spoke of acceptance, understanding, and unity. Breathless and wide-eyed, the townsfolk stood together, hearts beating as one as they realized they had done it. They had embraced their fears, faced darkness head-on, and emerged stronger for it. "We did it," Sarah whispered, tears of joy glazing her eyes as she looked at her friends, their faces glowing with a sense of unwavering support. Alara stepped forward, her presence filling the space with serenity. "You have found the light within yourselves. You are now guardians of your fate, and together, you will share that light with others." The woods breathed a collective sigh, the wind carrying the remnants of their battle away into the vast night. Sarah smiled through her tears, heart full, knowing this was not just a victory over fear. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a story of hope, unity, and transformation. "Tonight we reclaimed our power," she exclaimed. And they did. It was a new dawn, and the radiant light was a beacon for all who had lost their way, a reminder that together, they could overcome any darkness. Now more than ever, it's your time to shine. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach even more hearts. Comment below about how this story impacted you. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support. And this is the moment. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Join us in this journey.